Excellent. Do you know what? When I was coming up with all the questions and everything, because stunts is something I'm really passionate about, literally I had a million. So I had to like sort of dial them back a bit because, I get excited in the way of stunts because I've had like Jack Gill on the show. I've had quite a few stunt performers that has worked on different sort of films. But you, sir, I mean, you're a busy man. So thank you for your time. And the fact that you're part of Jackie Chan's official stunt team is crazy because we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that.
Okay.
So here we go. So I'll introduce you and we'll get the ball. Oh, your surname, is it Wong? Is that how you pronounce
It's
it?
Huang.
Wang.
Huang. Huang.
Wong.
Yeah. Huang.
Wang.
It's like the Cantonese way is Wong, but this is Huang.
Wang.
Yeah.
Wang. Okay, let me write this down because I'm terrible with surnames. I'm literally Wang. Okay,
Huang.
wonderful.
Yeah.
I am writing it as I would say it because literally if I don't, it gets rather embarrassing. Wang. Wang. Right, okay, so here we go. So on this week's episode of Be More Super, the podcast, we're continuing our love for behind the camera and especially for Warrior Nun. But we've got an awesome stunt coordinator, fight choreographer and stuntman. It's Lee Huang. Lee, welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much, Brian.
And I'm really excited because not only are we going to talk about Warrior Nun, but also we're going to talk about a bit of your career. So before we jump into the world of Warrior Nun, let's explore the world of Lee and what got you in this industry. So why on earth did you choose to go into the world of stunts and action and potential injuries?
I think probably it started with my father, even though my father's a musician. But when we were kids, my father used to tell us all the stories from the movies he watched. So our good night stories were Satoichi from Kurosawa, the one Blind Samurai or the One-Armed Samurai. So we grew up with that kind of stories. And when I was about 3 years old, my father introduced me to Jackie Chan movie. My first and still, I think, my favorite one. It's also the first one Jackie Chan directed when he was pretty young. And then I have an older brother, and he jumped on the train first. So he was always very much, he was more the kind of Bruce Lee guy, but he was very passionate from a very early stage on. And obviously, since he's my older brother and I kind of looked or still look up to him, he really motivated me to go on this path. And then we trained together, and he was, I think, my toughest teacher.
Well, you know what? You haven't chosen bad with Jackie Chan because, like my dad was into martial arts. He was a karate teacher. So I also grew up watching, Police Story and Project A and Wheels on Meals and all those classic movies, which all my friends were watching other things. He's just a fantastic man. And obviously we're going to chat about the fact that you're part of his official stunt team, which I think is great. It's crazy. So I can imagine it's very competitive, the industry that you're in. So what did you have to do to succeed where others didn't?
Actually, yeah. Oh, that's a very good question. I started in a very, very small stunt company because originally I thought I would. If I first wanted to go this way, then I didn't, and then eventually I ended up doing stunts anyway. And I started with a very small company in my hometown in Nuremberg, and these kind of stunts were very different from what I did later, which was more fighting related. But this we did a lot of small TV shows. So in that company, it was very important that we know kind of everything: how to weld a cage for a car, how to flip a car, how to do the rigging, how to do everything. So that was one of my best times actually in terms of learning. In fact, we were four guys, everyone was doing everything. So welding the cage. Now you do the car flip, okay? Then we flip the car, and it was very very freestyle. But still very interesting. And then at some point, I wanted to move on more towards fighting. to go more towards where Jackie went or my brother went. And for me, the decision was clear that if I want to stay within Germany, the clear path is to leave my city, my town, and to go to Berlin because there's a very big community of very good martial artists, of very good stunt guys. And yeah, then I moved to Berlin, met some coordinators, made some great friends, and trained.
I mean, you're credited with so many projects as a stunt coordinator and a fight choreographer, but you still do stunts yourself. Will there be a time when you'll transition from doing stunts to coordination only?
It's I think I will always do stunts, but uh, my goal is to be able to say, okay, I want to do a stair fall because I want to, not because I have to. You know, unfortunately, I know many, or not many people, but there are some people who kind of miss the to jump on the train at the right moment, and mm, I saw some stunt guys who were in their 50s or even very few in their 60s, and they could be great coordinators, but they always loved the performance so much that they never went that way. And so, I don't know, when I'm 50 and someone tells me, okay, you got to do a stair fall to pay your rent, I'm like, I don't know if that's the right way for me.
I mean, I compare, I suppose, the stunt, industry a bit to dancing because, a dancer's body has got like sort of a lifespan where after a time, your joints give out and you get a bit tired because of obviously the industry you're in. I mean, what do you do to keep yourself at peak? To keep going.
Yeah, train pretty much every day. Not like I think the training habit changes a lot throughout the years. In the beginning, you give everything, you train really hard. You get up in the morning, you go to an audition, and you really like even in the warm up, you wreck yourself. You can totally tell if you go to a stunt audition who's in there for a long time or who's very new. The people who are in the industry for quite some time, they sit there, they stretch a little bit, they try to memorize the choreography for the casting, and but they're more calm. Everyone who's new, jumping, flipping, tricking. It's a bit of a battle before they're battling each other before the actual competition,
Yeah.
and yeah, and that's a bit how it is. You get a bit calmer, and you also the way like for me now, especially the way I stretch is very different from how I did it before. It's not as aggressive.
I mean, I wanted to also touch. We mentioned earlier about Jackie Chan, and I just want to touch on there he is on the screen. He's got one of those lovable faces. He was one of my idols growing up, and you're officially part of the stunt team as of 2017. So, if you could tell us what that actually involves and how that opportunity came about for you.
Okay, so first opportunity here, actually props to my brother because he opened the door for me. He was always like, he was the one who said from the very, even in school, he was like, I'm going to be part of Jackie Chan Stunt team. In his summer vacation, when everyone went for also a holiday in Italy, he went to the Shaolin Temple to train when he was 15 or so. And uh, yeah, his story how he got to Jackie Chan is actually more interesting than mine. So I got to tell his. uh, he was working on his first gig in a show in Germany, which is about fighting monks. It's like a bit equivalent to Warrior Nun. And he heard that Jackie Chan is in town in Berlin for the premiere of Karate Kid. So he went to a friend's place, he drove to Berlin, printed his demo reel on the DVD and went to the red carpet to give his CD to Jaden Smith and told him, please give it to Jackie Chan. And a couple of weeks later, he received the mail from the Jackie Chan Stunt team. And I remember he called me before he opened the mail. He said, because at that time he was living in China when he received the mail, he just moved there. And it was incredible.
Wow. I mean, what sort of training goes into, being part of this stunt team?
So most of us in the JC Stunt team, we are martial artists. So you have less people who do content, for example. Therefore, in China, we have another team. Um, so my background is wushu. I studied Chinese martial arts. One of my teachers is also Thomas Hachikoglu. He's a great stunt guy. He's now going more towards directing, actually. And yeah, I trained a lot of Chinese martial arts, wushu, kung fu, and from then on, once I went to the industry, I mean, pick up bits and pieces. Like now I focus a bit on boxing and BJJ, for example.
I mean, I understand that. I understand that Jackie has a stunt team because he always wants to be surrounded by not only the best of the best, but it's all about trust with his fights because they are very chaotic and amazing at the same time. I mean, what's it actually like, being on screen with him and actually working with him on the many projects that you have?
So for me, when I went there the first time, so usually you're in Europe and you're like a day or 2 days or maybe even a week to rehearse a fight. You get like, hey, this is the choreography, this is double. Then the next day the actor comes. There it was like, hey, this is the choreo. You have 2 minutes. Here's the double. Do it one time with the double. Okay, now we shoot it. And for me, I was super scared. I was so stiff. Usually you need to be a bit loose also to keep up the space, the pace and the rhythm. And I was scared. I was so stiff. Like the moment they counted 3, 2, 1, action, during these 3 seconds, my whole life. I was looking in Jackie Chan's eyes, and my whole training like passed by me like in a beam. It was like a time travel. So I was super scared. And after the first take, Jackie took my hand and said, "It's only me. It's okay. Relax. I'm just a human." That was great, and that took away all the fear.
Oh, that's amazing. I mean, is he as nice, off screen as he seems to be in interviews and obviously in his films?
He's very nice, but he's very ambitious and very focused. So of course there's times for jokes. Sometimes we play soccer like in between the break, but he's super dedicated. He's coming on set and the whole energy changes. And in China they don't call him Jackie, they call him Daga, which means big brother, because he's giving everyone work and he's taking care of everyone. Sometimes he's cooking at home and he's bringing little boxes of food and he's like feeding you. And he's treating everyone the same. If you're the co-star or if you're the water boy, it doesn't matter. He's seeing you, and that's really cool. But at the same time, he's very serious.
Yeah.
And he's always working. He's always doing something. I remember we were shooting a movie, and we wrapped at night. He went into the jet, flew to the States to receive his Oscar. He didn't stay for the party. He went back. He received the Oscar, went back to the plane, came back straight to set, and was working.
Wow.
And that was over 60 years.
And that's obviously what makes him so successful.
Yeah.
And obviously, Jackie is no stranger to injuries, and your job of choice comes with risk. So let's talk about injuries, even though, your profession has got safer. Have you suffered from any injuries? Obviously, not comparing to Jackie, because literally I'm quite amazed that he's still walking around, to be fair. But have you experienced any injuries during your career?
Yeah, I have a fake syndesmosis ligament in my foot. That's ripped. And I have a dislocated shoulder, ripped biceps, and the rest are just bruises. But yeah.
And would you say the industry's got safer over the years to allow you to be a bit more ambitious in, the stunts and designing the stunts?
I mean, if you compare it to the 80s, the golden times of Hong Kong, of course, there were different kinds. These kind of stunts rarely exist. Rarely.
Yeah. So there's
There's
no.
one similar one you will see in the new John Wick movie by one of my friends, Arno. He did an incredible stairfall. But yeah, those art stunts from the 80s, nowadays you would always support them with a wire. And this is also good. There's no reason to really wreck someone, like jumping from, I don't know, 4 stories without a wire, without a mat. I don't think there's that necessity anymore. But yeah, it definitely became safer. We have way more time for prep, and also in Warrior Nun, we had a great amount of time. And also, which is what is important and not always the case, is that the production had a lot of. They were very sensitive to the topic. We said we need more prep time. They gave us more prep time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you've got to be safe. I mean, I once, quite a few years ago, I don't know if this classes me as a stunt performer, but I was a fighter in a movie,
Are you
and
IMDb credited?
hey, what's that?
Are you credited on IMDb as a fighter? And then,
No, I am credited on IMDb, but for another movie. But yeah, I can remember doing this choreography and with the other fighter, and as the camera came past, the other guy that I was fighting with, literally went out of sequence and ended up punching me for real in the nose. I spun round, hit the bar, and ended up with a broken nose. But you know what? They kept it in. So that's all what matters. It's fine.
yeah, there is a saying, I don't know if it's really adequate for every situation, but they say, okay, pain is temporary, but movies forever. So
And it didn't feel that bad, to be honest. But I'm sure it's nothing like a dislocated sternum, like Jackie Chan had in one of his movies, or falling 60 foot in Project A. So let's talk about Warrior Nun, because Warrior Nun has got to be one of the greatest shows that we've had on our TV for absolute years, and obviously it's record breaking on Rotten Tomatoes as well. How did this project come about for you? On your lap, how did you get involved?
a series of lucky coincidences, I think. So there is one of my, I'd say, mentors. His name is Laurent Demianov. He introduced me to Kuko, who is the stunt supervisor of the show. And he introduced me in the same year we were shooting Warrior Nun, but for a different show. And we were working there together, and then Kuko was looking for a fight coordinator for Warrior Nun. And he asked me if I want to do it, and I said, yeah, sure. And then in the process, like ongoing process, he was actually talking to Laurent and said, but he's actually looking also for a coordinator because he just wants to supervise the show. And Laurent said, well, actually, Lee wants to be more coordinated than a fight choreographer. And he put me up for that. And yeah, so very much thankful for the two of them to give me that opportunity. That was really, really great.
I mean, I've got to say, season one from season two definitely started with a bang. Literally, you felt like you were on this ride straight away from season one, and the action just seems to be a lot higher by far than season one. So how did it work in regards to, you get the job, you get the scripts, how does it go? What does the process look like in the way of designing, all the action prior to rehearsals and filming?
So after I was reading the script, the first thing that came to my mind obviously was, okay, who are you going to take with me on that journey to support me? And I was talking to Kai. He's our fight coordinator on the show, and he was working on Halo at the time. And he's like, I really want to go more towards fight coordinating. I said, well, actually, I have a show right now where I could use a fight coordinator. And he's like, I'm totally up for it. And I knew he's the right guy. We've been working and training for so long. And yeah, then I slowly assembled a team of my friends. We're more friends than an actual team, you know. And we all came to Spain, and then while reading the script, also because we went there to the hotel to go through quarantine, I went there 2 weeks prior than the others to go through all the meetings, and then I slowly started to already visualize what I think is adequate for some of the actions, but then at the same time,
Obviously, you've got your stunt team. I mean, how big is the whole stunt team? And obviously, it's a mix of all your friends, so it sounds more like a working holiday um, than than
I
than
can't
work.
tell.
But but how big was the actual team that you had?
Oh, I'd say in the core team, which we call the team that stays for the whole time for the development, so that includes the choreographer, the assistant, me, my assistant, the supervisor, the office, and all the doubles. We were, I think, 12
Okay.
people, around 12, 10 to 12 people. And then, but because there was so much action going on, we had so-called dailies who weren't dailies, they were there for 2 months also for the whole time. And we just had a blast.
And obviously, you know when you design these fights, and we see often some glorious footage of you guys, running through what we eventually see on screen. So there's a lot of rehearsals, a lot of putting the fights together. So how much time do you spend, or did you spend on Warrior Nun, figuring out all the fights, rehearsing before going to camera?
So in the beginning, we had 6 weeks of prep, and this time um, we tried to have everything up to the second or third episode to pre-choreograph and to train the actors. So it was a very hard process, because also when we arrived in the first week, the production wanted to see a previs, but we weren't all the doubles, we weren't all the people, and we were prevising the first fight scene with Ava and Beatrice when they're saving Miguel in the first episode. So it's Ava, Beatrice, Miguel, and I think 4 to 5 zealots, but we were 4 people. And
Wow.
we need to block everything and stage everything, and yeah. But after that 6 weeks, when we trained the actors, it's like while we prep one block is always 2 episodes. So while we shoot one block, we prep the other block. So it's very high tension, because the schedule was pretty full. In the script, there was even more action written than actually shot. We have same amount of previses being done.
Wow. So let's talk about the cast, because the cast in this show is just incredible. They really are. And obviously, Alba, who plays Ava, I've got some footage of her doing some rehearsals here. I mean, obviously, she's got a great background in, I think it's gymnastics and dance. So she's quite flexible, quite able. So what was she like to work with? And what was it like to get as much out of her as possible?
It was completely 10 out of 10. You couldn't have more luck with the number one cast than with her. In the beginning, we said, okay, if she could come 3 times a week for training. And after the first day, she said, can I come every day? And then she came every day. Then she said, can I come for the weekend too? And then Kai, who did design most of the fights, was like, yeah, sure, of course. And then he even trained her on the weekend. So she was super dedicated. So that is really a gift. Also because then the other actors have to follow a little bit. If the lead is like this, but I think even if she wouldn't have been like that, the cast would have went the same direction they went. Everyone was really amazing on that show.
I mean, how much of what we see on screen is actually Alba doing the stunts, and how much of it is a stunt double?
I say 90% is Alba. in general, all of the cast, 90% of the cast. Of course, we have um, every time we say it's a harder hit or it's a complicated wire gag into a breakaway, we use the double.
I
Uh,
mean, I've got to say, I've got quite a few favorite scenes, and one of my favorite scenes is Lilith in the dungeon area, and then you've got Beatrice at the end. But I want to go over Lilith's scene first, and at the bottom of the dungeon area, where we see her take on so many guys. It's just great. It's so poetic and gruesome and raw at the same time. It just seems so technical. I mean, what was this like to film? Because obviously there's loads of visual effects to have to deal with as well.
so that was the first thing I actually had to think about when we were reading, or when I was reading the script and when I had to prepare for the meetings. And the the backstory to that is the way I got introduced into that whole technical part of it was that during quarantine, I had a balcony, and above my balcony was the apartment of the DOP, Chris Labosseur. And he was also in quarantine, obviously. So we got to know each other from talking every day from balcony to balcony. And then one day he came up and said, "Hey, do you know the bolt arm is like incredible? He had the specs." So he sent me everything, and then I was looking through it, and he was telling me all these crazy ideas he had for this fight scene. And that's how we became friends in the first place, which was great. And then while reading the script and with having all those specs in my mind, I was clearly thinking of a mix of Wolverine, like the old man Logan,
Yeah.
um, and the Nightcrawler.
That was my first initial thought. When she was transitioning from one place to the next, it reminded me so much of the Nightcrawler, and then obviously the Wolverine with the claws. I mean, how difficult was it? I mean, did it take long to actually film that scene? Because
It, it was a nightmare, and especially for our previous guy, our previous operator, Hannes. My goodness, to figure out how to do that, and at a very early stage, we knew, okay, we have to shoot everything in so many layers and really mark everything out. And I think we shot 10 layers in the end. It feels like a one take because the bolt is actually doing one move, and then VFX stitched everything together that it looks like everyone is in place, but we had to figure out or run through with only Lilith without all the performers, but she still had to hit the marks, then only the performers, then both together, then only in blocks, and then in the end to mix everything together. And we had 1 day rehearsal with the bolt arm in our warehouse with programming everything. And then we had to bring everything to the location. There we had another day to reprogram everything because as you have to do it sometimes when you arrive at the location. And very big props to Kai Fung and Hannes there. They did really an amazing job in designing the fight.
I mean, the action in this show is truly incredible. Was there any time that you had to stop and say, right, we need to dial it back a bit? I think we're going a bit overboard here.
I mean, that's the end result you have. That's dialing back.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Where there was way more in the script.
Wow. So, did you shoot anything that we don't see on screen, or do we see everything that you actually filmed?
No, I think there are 2 or 3 previews that in the end never happened. But most of it made it onto the screen from what we did in our rehearsal stage.
And then obviously we've got Beatrice at the end. So if you haven't seen the show yet, look away, because obviously we're going to show some footage here of Beatrice, and I love how Beatrice fights. It's completely different to all the other nuns. It's very fluid, I'm just thinking water, and it's sort of, it's just lovely to see her move. So I wanted to give a shout out. So who's the actual? I presume it's great to be able to put that chainmail over a face, because that gives the opportunity to hand that over to the professionals. So who's the person that actually doubled for Beatrice?
Joe Rollinson from the UK.
Oh, what amazing! Honestly, absolutely amazing. I mean, how difficult is it for you to shoot these scenes with so many moving parts to make it look so incredible?
I think, in general, since it's all the hardest part in there is rhythm, to make everything look smooth, and also that fall right there with. The hardest part in general usually is rhythm, and then when you get to weapons, it's distance. And what made it there especially difficult is how to call it. It's not a blindfold, but the mask she was wearing, because we didn't know how much she will see in the end. I mean, we got it there for rehearsals, but in the beginning when we rehearsed the fight, she did it completely blindfolded. We have a previous, and she did the complete previous blindfolded, just in case.
Wow.
And she did an amazing job. And also there again, Kai with choreographing that fight. And one other difficulty with that fight was because obviously in the first season there's the amazing hallway fight, which was performed by Helen Tron, and she did an amazing job there. And the fight coordinator also on that show did an amazing job. And in general, when we approached the whole action, we were like, okay, it's obviously we want to step up our game, but it won't be easy. We watched the first season and we said, wow, this is really difficult to at least be on the same level as the guys who did it before. And so in that fight, Kai was really looking for specific moves that also remind you on the character line of Beatrice, which we always try in fights to also show who the character is. So the beginning move, the final move when she's hitting the floor, or the final pose when she's striking the guy who's doing a scorpion. Amazing fall. Another shout out to Danny Medina from Spain. So we were trying to tribute to what was already given in the first season. And that was also, I think, a hard part, to take all the handwriting, but still to give your extra sauce.
And I've got to say, season 2 definitely tops season 1. Not taking anything away from season 1, but season 2 definitely, literally, is on another level. So when do you decide on when an actor should step aside and when the stunt should take over?
It depends a bit on the difficulty of the move, and also in that case, we were lucky enough to have so much time training the actors. We had 6 weeks before where they really were giving, every one of them, they were giving their best. And so on the set for us, it was really easy to know who can do what. So we knew, okay, definitely will look good with the actor, or will look better with the double, or it's not safe with the actor, or it's definitely safer with the double. In general, we try to do as much as possible with the actors. But for example, there's a moment in the church fight, in the one take we did there, where Jake is falling through the benches, and because we have 3 benches, 3 breakaways, but one of the producers was sitting down on one of the benches during the day, and he didn't know it was a problem, and then it broke, and so we had only 2 benches left, and then the pressure went higher, and then we said, okay, 2, and then I think something else happened. So in the end, we ended up having 1 bench, and then we said, because Jack really wanted to do it, and he could have done it. You know,
Mm.
I mean, safety-wise, he did so many things, and but we said, okay, in this particular case, we really have to nail it on spot. And the double Mirko, he's really good also with his timing. So in that moment, it was my call to say, okay, no, definitely Mirko will be the one to do it. You know, we can't have that risk.
I bet he was gutted that he couldn't do it. But I mean, looking back at all the stunts, which one has been your favourite out of the whole season 2 to do?
Oh, it's hard to say. It really depends on what we're looking at. I think rigging wise, for example, there is the table fall from Lilith out of the ark, which is my favorite rigging gag.
Mm.
And then stunt wise, there's some great falls from all the Spanish guys. And there's also in the hallway fight with Beatrice, there's one guy who's doing a crazy Hong Kong twist after getting a kick to the head, or the scorpion. Yeah, for me, they're all great.
Yeah, I know. You know what? It's one of those shows. It's kind of hard to pinpoint just one scene because literally, it's just electric the whole entire season. So to pinpoint one bit is crazy.
I have one actually. I have one that I also really like.
Yeah.
But it doesn't look like a stunt to probably most of the people from the outside. It's when Ava's running over the water. For me, it's one of the most stunning shots, or I think it's the best shot I ever did in my life.
So,
me and my
so are you going to give the secret hat out? How was that achieved? Was that a platform under the water?
It's a platform under the water. In the beginning, we were thinking of building a rig and putting cranes in there, and then one day we were sitting there, and there was a little puddle of water, and someone was walking over. And said, actually, that looks like walking over water. And then we were, yeah, it's so stupid. It's the easiest solution to think of it to put a platform. And the only difficulty there was that because of the schedule, we had to build a platform, prep 4 weeks before we were shooting that scene. So we were building everything. We had to figure out what kind of material we're going to use for the surface. So in case of Alba is falling, she will fall soft, but it can't be like a rubber, like a normal mat we use, because otherwise it will be too slippery. So we had to look around and find a proper or a good material to do that. And we ended up finding mats from oil factories, anti-slippery mats that are really soft and thick, but they also have a good grip, and that's what we screwed into the platform. And then, it was difficult there because Spain is super hot in the summer, and we knew that when we get back after rehearsal 4 weeks later, that the lake will be the water level will be down, and so we had to think of, okay, how can we prep and then not rebuild everything. So we were working with oxygen tanks that we put underneath the truss system, so we can just easily lift up the truss when we're underwater, and then we move it around.
Wow, the magic behind the scenes. We fans just see this one, sort of scene, which is just magical, and you just make it sound such hard work to get it to to get it to what we see. So the next question is, okay, between Alba and Christina, who would win a fight?
Ooh. That's a very, very good question. I mean, Christina is also a very good physical background. She's also from dancing. I think she went to Russia for ballet. And if I ever see them again, I don't want to pick a side.
I'm sure the fans will have their opinions and comment on the video. I just want to quickly go on to obviously the stunt community, because the one thing that I get quite annoyed at, which I'm sure you do as well, is that do you feel that the stunt community get enough recognition for the hard work that they put in by the industry?
Um, in terms of, for example, the ongoing question if we should get an Oscar or not, I definitely think we don't get enough recognition. And then, yeah, it's really hard to say. It
Mm,
sometimes also depends on the production. Sometimes even the credits we are last in some productions, and then when you look at the trailers, stunts is always what's selling the whole movie, and also not from wanting to take away anything from the other departments, because I think one cannot live without the other.
mm,
Um, but we are the only department that really putting lives at risk.
mm.
Yeah, even though we try to be as safe as possible, there's always the chance of getting severely injured. And yeah, I think this deserves more recognition for sure.
I mean, obviously, with films coming out now, I'm noticing a massive trend of action orientated movies coming out. There's more and more. So who knows? Maybe the Oscars might recognize, because I know when I interviewed Jack Gill, he was saying that they have recognized a category, which is it action designer or something like along those lines, but they can't win an Oscar. They could be part of the Oscar committee, I think, but they can't actually win an Oscar. But hopefully, you know, they develop something throughout the time. You know, these movies come out, because obviously you've got the Tourist awards, and you've got other awards to recognise the hard work that you guys do. I mean, I normally ask my guests what's next for you, but looking at your IMDb, you are a busy man, Lee. You are a busy man. So you've got Den of Thieves 2, you've got The Old Guard 2, you've got Snafu with Jackie Chan and John Cena, Guy Ritchie's The Covenant, and Lift with Kevin Hart and Sam Worthington, to name a few. I mean, are you normally this busy?
Lately, it's getting there. it's it's a slow and steady way up the ladder. But yeah, I think it always it comes in waves. Sometimes you have a bit more on the plate, and sometimes not. And for example, now IMDb looks a bit more busy than it actually is, because first of all of this project already done, and Snafu with Jackie Chan and John Cena we did in 2017 or 18, and it just
What?
never got finished because
Wow.
of whatever reason. And now I think Netflix bought the rights. I think that's for example one credit. That looks like I also did it last year, but it's been a while.
So people are going to be watching it going, Lee looks a bit younger. What's going on here? You know,
Yeah.
it's obviously a time machine. So you've worked on so many projects, and you've got some amazing ones coming out. The Old Guard too, I'm really looking forward to, because I loved the first one. I thought it was a brilliant movie, and you've worked opposite and performed opposite so many great names. But out of all of them, who's really impressed you? You know, with how they've dealt with action and stunts.
If we take away Jackie Chan,
Yeah, of course. Take away Jackie Chan. I mean, who can compare with Jackie Chan, really?
mm, I think, of course, Alba and the guys from Warrior Nun, and I
Good
really
answer.
mean it.
Good answer.
And I really mean it. Part of that, John Cena and Kevin Hart are definitely on the top for a reason.
Yeah.
They are both very dedicated, hardworking people. Kevin Hart, if we started training at 8, he started at 5. He did his workout before at 5 a.m. in the morning. He came, he, he has a very strong boxing background. And when he watches the choreography, he's standing there He's watching it once, and he's like, can I have it one more time? And then he steps in, he can do it. He has rhythm, he has the distance, he's really good. And John Cena's the sweetest guy on earth.
Surely he's not. He seems so nice in real life. Surely he's got some annoying traits to him. Like, you know, is he a noisy eater? Is he, you know...
No, nothing. And he's like so interested in so many things. When we were having a break, he was trying to learn piano. And when he was standing with a big rifle next to me, he was talking about ornaments in paintings. It was like, this doesn't match right now, but okay.
What planet am I on?
And he speaks fluent Chinese.
Does he really?
Yeah.
Wow. That is impressive. See, look, there's more to John Cena that meets the eye. You know, we think he's just this lump of muscle that throws himself around a wrestling ring, but obviously is into antiques, paintings, and he can speak fluent Chinese, which is awesome. I mean, have you kept anything from any of your projects as like keepsakes? Do you keep mementos from set?
I will give you the same answer as your last guest. No.
Damn it. So
no, I did.
Yeah. I mean,
tell you in private which ones.
Hey, what's that?
I text you in private which ones.
Excellent. Please do. Because as a collector myself, literally, if I was on these sets, I would be filling my pockets up because, you know, I've got the sponsors of this show, Prop Store, reaching out to Fresco Films to try and rescue some of these props and costume pieces from Warrior Nun because the fans are so passionate and what they're doing is such an amazing feat to keep this, you know, this Warrior Nun going, you know. So kudos to them, and hopefully we can rescue some of these props and costumes to give a chance for the fans to get their hands on something. Is it a sword? Have you got a sword? Is that what you're trying to say?
I'm telling you, not from what movie, but I have two swords.
Really? Oh, yeah. What? Okay, yeah, you'll have to message me straight after recording, or we can stop recording and you can tell me. and no, but Lee, you've been a great guest. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. Literally, I've been excited all day to be chatting to you because Jackie Chan Stunt community. You know, the work that you've done is just incredible, and I look forward to all the future projects that you're involved in. Thank you so much. Keep safe and stay super, my friend.
It was a great pleasure.